What's up, guys? Welcome back to NFL Talk on the Aletius Sports Channel. I'm your host, Enrique Aletius. So in this video, we are breaking down the NFC Championship game between the Lions and the 49ers. Big question here is, did Coach Campbell and his bold, aggressive decisions cost the Lions? Let's dive into it. We're going to start off with just, I think, talking about how, this first half for the Lions, right? I thought they kicked it off really strong. I thought they had a really great balance on the offensive side from the opening drive. David Montgomery got things started, solid runs, total 19 yards, right? Goff connected with Laporta for a huge 14-yard gain. And I thought my favorite highlight of that first half was that end-around touchdown by Jameson Williams, showing off insane speed, great play calling, a lot of creativity. I think a lot of things were just clicking for the Lions at that point. And on that defensive front, right, the Lions were just as impressive. They had a clear game plan. They stopped the Niners' run game, specifically McCaffrey, and they executed it well. They kept McCaffrey in check for most of that first half. I thought the defense played, a huge role in their success. I thought they were just dominant. I thought that, and you kind of felt like, I think the Lions may do it. I thought, for me, a 17-point lead at the end of that first half, and you're thinking like, Niners were Super Bowl favorites way beginning of the season, and the Lions were nowhere near that conversation. I felt like, and they were doing well, and then everyone knew they were picking up. But as the season went on, and they were just quietly doing their thing, and I think they were kind of America's favorite underdog team there. And so, to see them be as dominant as they were in that first half, it was impressive. It was awesome. And you have to credit, I thought you have to credit Dan Campbell, you have to credit the team, OC, everyone there, just the way that they came out was good. And I thought you had big moment for me also was, I thought from this point on, this could have been a complete just dog walk by the Lions when you had Pascal got some good pressure on Purdy, led to a Malcolm Rodriguez interception, and I felt like this was that really huge momentum, I wouldn't say shifts because it was kind of going the Lions away the whole time, but it was just a boost, right? An even a bigger boost for the Lions to turn that interception into points. And you had Jahmyr Gibbs punching in a touchdown, 15 yards there. And Amon-Ra St. Brown also, made a mark in that first half, a huge 23-yard catch on the 3rd and 18. And they set up the Lions deep in that red zone, right? And I thought, these plays were key, and just, again, building that momentum and establishing that 24-7 lead at halftime, And so at that point, right, I felt like, okay, this is, this is getting into a bit of a danger territory for the Niners, because I think there's that stat line where if Shanahan's down going into the fourth quarter, I don't know if he's won any games or maybe just won one game or whatever, especially going back to that Packers game. But this is where the Niners woke up, unfortunately for Lions fans, right? I think this is where the talk about Dan Campbell's aggressiveness and going for it on fourth down this entire season, or his entire run so far as a coach, kind of backfired on him a little bit. And I guess depending on how you look at it, right? But we'll get into it. So, coming out of halftime, this is where things shifted. Lions faced just a big moment there, like I said, 4th and 2 on the Niners' 28-yard line. And in this one, this is where Dan Campbell chose to go for it, right? Instead of taking that field goal. I personally thought you take the points. I thought you take that field goal. For me, I feel like going forward on fourth down, it's something that I feel like you do it, even if it's season or regular or playoffs, postseason, whatever. I feel like you do it when if you don't go for it, you're still basically in a hole, But in this one, I feel like if they didn't go for it and just kick the points, I thought they would be in great position. I think you just got to stack the points. And this is the postseason. It's that whole situation, that's situational, right? Shout out Pat McAfee. But I think it's one of those things where I was watching going I don't know if this is the right time to be classic Dan Campbell, go aggressive, And but again, it's but on the other hand, am I also in the wrong for thinking you don't go for it, because going for it is what kind of got them to this point. And I can see that side of it. I can see that argument. So Again, I personally thought they shouldn't have went for it on both chances, honestly, either one. But it is what it is. That's what makes Dan Campbell, right? And so they went for it, and Goff tried to get a pass to Josh Reynolds. Bit of a tough catch there. I think people thought that it should have been an easier catch than I thought it really looked like. It was kind of a difficult catch. He kind of was like, he had to turn his body a little bit. But this is where I feel like the momentum, right? And it just starts to shift huge in the Niners' favor. So at this point, right, Niners get the ball back, and Purdy's connection there with Ayuk, just a huge, insane catch. I mean, this is game-changing catch off the helmet, unbelievable catch, and picks it up. Should not have caught this ball, and not long before that, they punch in punch in points there, and like before you know it, the game was tied 24-24. And like that's these are moments, right? Like these are moments in games, especially in the playoffs, that just spark something, right? And you don't want to give the team any momentum. That's why I feel like when you just keep putting points up on the board, you're just, even if it's only a field goal and like here and there, it's a field, maybe two field goals in a row or whatever, it's still setting yourself up apart from the team, from the opponent there, as opposed to just trying to go for the kill and trying to go for like that touchdown and risking the chance for the other team to get back in it. But again, there's two sides to it. I honestly can understand both sides. I can understand the reason and the logic to go for it. Personally, I just, again, felt like he should have taken the points there. And again, the second fourth down attempt they faced was in that fourth quarter. And, they're down 4th and 3 from the Niners 30-yard line. And, at this one, I felt like more than anything, right? Go for that field goal. You're at the Niners 30-yard line. And this was another one where Niners brought the pressure. Goff couldn't find an open receiver. Another turnover, and this was a huge moment because this time around, right, like this, I think this is when Niners went back, scored a touchdown. Actually, I'm sorry, happens later on, but this is one of those things where I think the Lions just needed to keep putting points up on that board, and it didn't happen for them. And my thing is the big point for me in this game that I felt like, because debatable fourth down attempts, this and that, right? But the one that I felt like was just not good game management, and I feel like listening to other people speak on it, everyone's mostly in agreement here, is like when that late last minute. I think there was that last minute where the Lions, they had two timeouts, I think it was, and they called the timeout to decide, and then they ran the ball after the timeout, right? It's like, if you're going to run the ball, I don't know if the timeout came before or after the run, but regardless, they scored a touchdown at the very end, but basically by calling that timeout and going for the run, you're basically deciding that this is going to be an onside kick game, and I wasn't, I didn't understand, right? Like at that point, even if it's the first down, and like just go for the kick, right? Kick the field goal. You have your 3 timeouts, and you can try to slow down the game and give yourself a chance to put the ball in Goff's hands to try to get, a score there, and I felt like when they just that last minute, it just, it definitely looked like a lot of I'm not gonna say indecision, I guess, but it looked like not being sure, because I guess he's look, he's never been here before, right? So would you say the pressure got to Dan Campbell? I don't know, but I just feel like better decisions could have been made, knowing what time was left on the clock, 3 timeouts, potentially like having one more run at it, instead of just basically throwing in the towel to say this is going to be an onside kick game. And if you look at the statistics for onside kicks, right, it's not, you rarely get an onside kick return in this modern NFL. So it just seemed very, that was the one I think collectively everyone can agree was the bad decision and the terrible game management at that point for the Lions and Dan Campbell, as opposed to those fourth downs where it's kind of back and forth between like, Do you go for it or not? That's how Dan Campbell always is. That's who they are. So kind of stick to who you are. But I think overall, you just look at that team, and I feel like I don't know. I feel for the Lions because this year with how everything shook out. You really again you don't know how how many times you get a chance, if ever, right? And Dan Campbell did allude to it in his post game where you don't know if he'll come back, and it's something that is very real, right? That's very true. That's very real. You could say all you want about like, oh well, you got to put in the work. It's the off season, but like, Joe Burrow comes back next year. Justin Herbert and Harbaugh now a thing, and like it's going to be different teams going to reload how things turn out this year may not be the same next year. It's hard to get back in it every year, and everyone knows that. But like, I just feel like this moment, right, like was theirs for the taking in a sense, and they had it, right. I mean, they kind of coughed it up. They choked there a little bit with the defense, bad, and also the drop catches there. I thought that to me was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, downfalls of this game for the Lions was those dropped catches because you get a catch or two there. You never know. Goff, gets down the field quickly, or you burn time off the clock and things like that. You just have possession of the ball, and you give it up like when you can't catch those passes. And I didn't think Goff played bad at all. I don't think any of this was on him. I thought it was the receivers not being able to make a catch. I thought Josh Reynolds dropped far too many catches than he should have in this game. But again, bad time management, clock management, and the defense also. I felt like Lions just had to come up a little, had to come up big, and they didn't, and it kind of cost them. And but you also I think you have to give a lot of credit to the Niners in this one. They came back. A lot of pressure on them, and especially with how loud it is about Brock Purdy, and I thought he stepped up. I thought he played really well, and I felt like again Christian McCaffrey, he's just at this point unstoppable. Especially in that second half, he kind of woke up there, and it was a very devastating loss if you're a Lions fan. I feel like because you could tell what you want all about like, oh well, we didn't expect to make it this far and everything, and to a certain extent that's true. You can look back on the season as a whole and go, wow, like overperformed, insanely, credible run. But I think just in that moment for this game, looking at this game solely as one game away from the Super Bowl, as a game separate of the whole entire season, and the decisions were made in this game. I think in that second half, it was just difficult to watch, to see it kind of crumble apart there, or crumble and fall apart there. So, but let me know what you guys think in the comments about how you thought the game went, what you thought they should have done. Do you agree going for fourth down or going for field goals? What do you think about the last minute play calling by Dan Campbell there? But again, I will end this by saying I'm a huge fan of Dan Campbell. I love what he's brought to this Lions team, this organization, to this fan base, to this culture. I want him to be the Lions coach for the next, 5 to 7 years, as long as he keeps up, just the way that he is in this culture. I think what he's brought to this Lions squad has been not just this underdog mentality, but I feel like he's brought such a strong level of camaraderie, right? Like you could tell these guys love playing with each other, playing for the coaches, playing for each other on the field, accountability, both sides of the ball. Not a whole lot of ego, at least not yet so far, but like it's very much like, they're a team that recognizes that they it's a culture shift here, right? They're doing something special with what is happening over these past couple of years and how they turned the team around. Again, like Dan Campbell, when he first came in, I think they went 0-3. I don't know. They lost, like they went like 3-13, 14. I don't know what it was, but they didn't get a lot of success the first season. I felt like it was only until last season when they went on that run, and then they ended last season by beating the Packers, which I felt like, to me, that was a huge statement game as a Lions organization, to beat the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. And then the year after that, they make it one game away from the Super Bowl. So who knows what happens next year. But again, like a huge fan of Dan Campbell, still am. I just felt like this game, certain decisions were made that it should have went the other way in my opinion, but because they were so close to winning this one. But overall, you got to give credit to the Niners, and I think next year, with Ben Johnson coming back, and they still have a lot of their squad there. I expect the Lions to still be a strong team next year. So that'll be interesting to see, and fun to see how they do next year. But again, you never know, right? Like every season's a new season. So that's just how it kind of goes in the NFL. But as far as this game, I felt like it was just tough collapse to watch in one half. It was so good, and then the second half it was just bad. But congrats to the Niners. I'm going to be rooting for them to take it in the Super Bowl. So it should be fun to watch. Should be a fun game for sure. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button here. And thanks again, and I'll see you next time.